Lyft has been slapped with another class action lawsuit for a rather humorous reason.
Xbox, Twitter, Uber,
Postmates,
Netflix, MoviePass,
Google,
eBay,
DoorDash,
Apple, Amazon, Airbnb,
The Apptrepreneur. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur. So class action lawsuits are not unusual for Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates. It really doesn't matter. Like, they have had several, they will have many more. They will most likely be sued until the day they go out of business, which by my predictions is about 2021, 2022, something like that. I don't know. Talk about another video. But anyway, Lyft has been slapped with another class action lawsuit about its driver employment status, and you will be very surprised to find out the reason why this was allowed to go through. However, before we talk about any of that, let's have a word from our sponsors. Times are changing for gig workers and the gig economy, and there are a lot more gigs from a lot more companies than there used to be. That's why when people ask me where they can go to find resources for the gig economy, I recommend gigworker.com. At this site, you can see what other gig workers are doing and discover better opportunities. From industries, companies, resources, and even a forum where you can talk with other people in the gig economy, gigworker.com is a great resource site whether you work for Uber, Lyft, Postmates, DoorDash, TaxRabbit, Thumbtack, Upwork, whatever. There's a gig for you and there's a forum for you on gigworker.com. Gigworker.com for all your gigs. So from Jalopnik, Lyft slapped with another class action lawsuit about driver employment status. By the way, this article is written by Aaron Gordon, whose work I love. I definitely recommend you go to Jalopnik and you seek out this guy's articles. He writes excellent stuff for rideshare. Lyft is facing another class action lawsuit taking direct aim at alleged widespread and intentional misclassification of drivers as independent contractors. The suit was filed in the North District of California by representatives of Lyft driver Donald Bruner Jr. of Burbank, who has driven full-time for Lyft since March 2016. By the suit's estimation, Brunner Jr. Boy, that's a mouthful. Try saying that 3 times. Brunner Jr. I don't know, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry, folks. Has worked 42 to 70 hours per week on the platform ever since, logging 500 to 1,100 miles per week. The suit alleges he and other drivers were deprived of reimbursed expenses, overtime, and minimum wage, among other rights employees have. Now, this is not anywhere near unusual complaints for Uber or Lyft. In this case, it's Lyft. However, here's the thing that makes this worth talking about, aside from the fact that, they have another lawsuit, and, we just have to talk about every single lawsuit that Uber and Lyft has. Because as they point out, this is hardly the first time Lyft has been sued over the driver classification issue. Another case, Whitson versus Lyft, was settled in June for undisclosed terms. Back in 2017, Lyft settled a similar lawsuit for $27 million, although it took almost 4 years to be settled and very much left the question of driver classification unanswered. It was also settled before the landmark California Supreme Court ruling and the Dynamex decision that opened the door to gig economy misclassification lawsuits. Norton versus Lyft, which was filed in Dynamex's wake, is still winding its way through the courts. For its part, Uber settled a case earlier this year for $20 million 6 years after it was filed. One of the issues that gave Uber tremendous leverage is that the settlement was the fact that the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that the arbitration clauses drivers must agree to in order to work in the platform, directing legal matters to an arbitration proceeding rather than the court's prohibited class actions. Now, here's why we're talking about it. This is the bit of really, who would have saw that problem? But Brunner's representatives argue that Lyft waived its right to arbitration by not paying the necessary fees to the American Arbitration Association, which, according to the complaint, Lyft agrees to do in its terms of service. The AAA requires the fees be paid in advance of any hearing, so Lyft's alleged refusal to pay it essentially blocked the arbitration process. Wow. I have to admit, I knew, like, about a year or so ago, I did a video where after it became clear that the court had ruled, like, no, Uber and Lyft is independent contractor. You have to go through arbitration. Like, you can't just go to the courts. It has to be settled in arbitration first. And that was considered like a major win for the companies. And maybe it was, or maybe it seemed like that at the time. I don't know. But then the drivers got smart. They all went to arbitration and said, okay, we're going to all individually sue you then. And I have to admit, that was like really ingenious on the driver's part to do something like that. And of course, Uber and Lyft have to pay for it, and they have to pay for it in advance. So whether by intentionally, or maybe it was an oversight, who knows, Lyft ended up not paying for the arbitration. Essentially, that blocked any dispute from being able to be resolved, which was not only a violation of the terms of service, but it was in violation of the ruling that was passed down. And so now what he's doing, he's suing them. He's suing them. And hey, Brunner, bravo. Bravo. Absolutely genius. Love you, man. Otherwise, the suit makes pretty standard arguments regarding driver classification. Lyft's business is entirely dependent on drivers to provide its service. Drivers lack meaningful degrees of business autonomy, including setting their own rates or building business relationships with passengers for future services. Lyft unilaterally controls the terms of employment and requires drivers to maintain a high ride acceptance rate, meaning drivers do not have the freedom to cancel rides at their discretion without being punished by Lyft. And, of course, by giving drivers only 15 seconds to accept rides, it prohibits drivers from being engaged in any other meaningful activity, even when not providing any services on the Lyft platform. If previous cases are any indication, it will take years for any type of resolution, assuming there is one at all. We reach out to Lyft asking if they have any comment on the lawsuit, and we'll update the story if we hear anything back. Oh, why would they? Why would they comment on this? They have so many lawsuits. So anyway, here's what it looks like. A lot of paperwork, as you can see. We're not gonna read over this. This is how complicated. How many pages is this? This is about. See, they had the pages originally. What? Oh, yeah, about 20 pages. About 20 pages for this lawsuit plus. 28 pages. Duh, I feel stupid. So anyway, yeah. Again, this is not surprising at all. They get sued for this all the time. It's probably, you gotta wonder, like, does Uber and Lyft CEOs just sit there and they come and it's like, sir, we've gotten a class action lawsuit again today, and they're like, again? Well, if this is something, they're like, again, why can't those customers just be happy with the service?